that day, draped in orange robes and speaking in riddles that made no sense to anyone but him. Jack, feeling protective of his household and his right to eat a hamburger without being judged, decided to enlighten the guru in his own way. He invited Shanty to the kitchen, promising a pure, vibrational feast of the earth. What Shanty didn't know was that Jack had prepared a meat-free lasagna that was actually 80% spicy habanero peppers disguised as tomatoes. Shanty took one large, spiritual bite and achieved a state of instant nirvana, which mostly involved him sprinting to the bathroom, screaming in a very unspiritual way, and drinking 3 gallons of tap water. I think the negative energy is officially gone, Jack remarked as Shanty fled the building, robes flapping in the wind. Jack, that was mean. You ruined his chakra, Chrissy pouted. No, Chrissy, Jana laughed, wiping tears from her eyes. That was a culinary exorcism. And look, the vibes are much clearer now, especially the vibe of Shanty never coming back. Chapter 14, The Flower Shop Follies. Jeanette's work life was usually her sanctuary, but even the world of daisies and roses had its thorns. Her boss, the aforementioned Mr. Compton, was a man of great passion for botany, but very little common sense. Jeanette, the orchids are depressed, Mr. Compton announced one morning, looking mournfully at a display of purple blooms. I can feel their sadness. They need a change of scenery. Move them to the window, but don't let the sun see them. They're shy. Jana spent most of her day moving plants in and out of shadows, a task that felt like a botanical version of musical chairs. To make matters worse, the new delivery boy was a man named Speedy who was anything but. I'll get these roses to the wedding in no time, Miss Wood, Speedy said, tripping over a bucket of carnations. By the time the roses arrived at the wedding, they had been through a car wash. Speedy took a wrong turn and a minor fender bender. The bride was not amused, and Jana spent her evening on the phone, apologizing for the distressed, avant-garde look of the bouquet. When she got home, she found Jack trying to distress a piece of furniture for the living room. "What are you doing, Jack?" she asked, dropping her bags. "Redecorating. It's called shabby chic, Jana. I saw it in a magazine." "It just looks like you hit our chair with a hammer," she noted. "Exactly. That's the chic part." Chapter 15, The Peeping Tom Panic. One humid Tuesday, a cloud of paranoia settled over the courtyard. It started when Stanley Roper, during one of his midnight weather checks, spotted a figure in a trench coat lurking near the bushes. "I'm telling you, Helen, we have a peeper," Stanley hissed, clutching his binoculars. He was looking right at apartment 201. Maybe he was looking for a way out of this conversation. Stanley, Helen yawned. But the rumor spread. Jana and Chrissy became convinced that every shadow was a prowler, They insisted Jack stay in the living room as a guard dog, which Jack enjoyed until he realized he had to sleep on the floor. "I'm a chef, not a commando," Jack complained, huddled in a blanket. The peeper was eventually caught. It was just Larry Dallas, who had lost his contact lens while trying to impress a girl on the second floor. "Larry, you idiot!" Jack yelled as they found him crawling in the begonias. "Hey, I found the lens," Larry beamed, holding up a tiny piece of plastic. "Now, can someone help me up? My back is out." Chapter 16, The Great Sunday Paper Heist. Sunday mornings were meant for the funnies, at least according to Stanley. But when his paper didn't arrive, he went on a rampage. "Someone stole my Andy cap," Stanley roared, banging on Jack's door. Jack, who had actually accidentally picked up Stanley's paper and then spilled an entire pot of coffee on it, was in a panic. He and the girls spent an hour trying to dry the paper in the oven, which only made it smell like burnt news. "Here you go, Mr. Roper," Jack said, handing over a crisp, slightly charred bundle. The delivery boy must have had a rough morning. Stanley looked at the paper. "Why is Andy cap black and white and crunchy?" "It's the new high-fiber edition," Jack lied through his teeth. Stanley spent the rest of the day complaining that his news was well done, while Jack quietly swore to never touch another person's mail again. Chapter 17, The New Normal. As the months turned into years, the trio of apartment 201 settled into a rhythm that felt less like a temporary arrangement and more like a permanent state of being. They learned to navigate Stanley's moods, Helen's caftans, and the constant, buzzing thread of being found out by the world. They weren't just roommates anymore. They were a support system. When Jana had a bad day at the shop, Jack made her favorite pasta. When Chrissy was confused by a memo, Jana sat with her and explained it. And when Jack was overwhelmed by Monsieur Pierre, both girls were there to taste test his creations, even the ones that tasted like habanero lasagna. They were three people from different worlds, brought together by a fluke of fate, a used car salesman's debt, and a very strict landlord. But as they sat together on the couch, watching the flickering screen of their small television, they knew they had found something special. Santa Monica was full of freaks and weirdos, as Stanley liked to say. But in apartment 201, they had found the only thing that really mattered: a place to belong. Epilogue: The door is always open. The sun rose again over Santa Monica, starting a new day of drowsy window shadows and dust motes. Stanley Roper sat in his recliner. Helen filed her nails in the bedroom, and upstairs, the sound of a falling whisk signaled that Jack Tripper was awake and probably burning something. Life was a ball again. Laughter was calling. And down at their rendezvous, they knew that as long as they had their lovable space, they would always be Three's Company. "Come and knock on our door. We've been waiting for you." The Santa Monica Trio chronicles